Welcome back to the channel, guys, and I do mean guys because according to my YouTube analytics, 99.2% of you are guys, and I'm pretty sure that 0.8% is my girlfriend watching this video. So good to see you guys again. Today I want to talk about building jazz vocabulary, how to build jazz language in your playing. We're going to use an analogy to language, how music is very, very similar to language, and we're going to go through some lines, we're going to go through some jazz language, and it's all connected to this new course I'm really excited about. It's a short study of jazz language over standards. So I actually partnered with my friend Tiago. He's a killing guitarist, Portuguese guitarist who lives in Amsterdam, and he wrote 10 studies over jazz standards with the focus being jazz guitar vocabulary, meaning this vocabulary is specific to what actual guitar players play. There's a whole list of 10 standards I'll read to you guys, and a whole bunch of guitarists. This is the vocabulary is based off of guys like Wes Montgomery, George Benson, Grant Green, Kenny Burrell, Joe Pass, Mike Moreno, Pat Martino, Pat Metheny, a whole bunch. There's a whole list. The purpose of this is to give you guys actual examples on standards of how different guitarists might approach that standard. And I think it's cool because a lot of these guitarists may not have played on that standard. But Tiago, what he did is take some of the vocabulary that he had studied from all these different guitarists and applied it to these standards. So I think it's a really great way of studying that, and we'll get right into how he does that, and I'll give you guys a preview of 5 different examples in this video. So the first example I want to look at is Overtake the A Train, and this is actually relating to a question I had just received on one of the comments. Someone asking, well, what do I play when the chord is happening for like many measures? Like I run out of ideas. So on the section of Take the A Train, there's an F major chord that happens for 4 measures. And so for a lot of people, it's a sticking point that they don't know what to do for that long. So this vocabulary, this phrase that I'll dig into, is over that part of the song, Overtake the A Train. And it's in the style of Wes Montgomery. So I'll play it for you first, and then we will take a look. Okay, so let's break down this phrase. We're starting on the major 7th, and we're doing multiple hammer-ons to get to that 9th. And just this little bit is used in so many different phrases from jazz guitarists anytime you have 2 notes that are minor third away. So if this was F minor even, you can do this same exact little phrase from the major 7th to the 9th. And then just go to the A flat. But we're in major, so we're staying in major. He hits that sharp 11, and this next part's really cool. It's this chromaticism starting on the major 7th, going down to the 5th. And this is a really good example of how to use chromaticism properly. So you start on a downbeat on a chord tone, and then all your upbeats become the chromatic tension leading into the next chord tone, or the next note from a scale. So major 7th, 6th, 5th, and that's why it sounds like it works to our ears. Then he has this nice little turn from C down to B back to C. Having these big interval jumps are also very idiomatic of jazz language. And then we have this basically like a blues pattern. You could think about it like an enclosure too. It's the 3rd. We're basically encircling this A, which is the 3rd of F major. So then going to F, D, C, and then resolving to that 6th, which is also a good way of resolving on a major chord. So all in all, we have a lot of different bits to this line that you can learn from, and there's notes in the course that you'll see in the notation next to me that will give you these hints. The next one I want to look at is actually over a blues, a B-flat blues, and this is in the style of Grant Green. So this one's coming in on the, what is that? The 6th measure of a B-flat blues on that E-flat 7, E diminished, and continuing from there. And this looks really cool because it's really reminiscent of a minor 2/5 lick, but we can use it in this context, and it works really well. Okay, so let's take a look at this phrase. So again, this is coming on the E flat 7, E diminished part, going into B flat 7. You could have F in the bass on that. And then G7 going to C minor, like the last phrase of the blues. And what we have here is we're really basing it around this like C minor arpeggio. And we start off with this on the upbeat, like 1, 2, 3. That A flat. That's a super common phrase. Benson uses this a bunch. You can go into chromaticism after that. And then this next part almost looks like the 2-5-1 phrases we were doing last week, except instead of E natural, it's E flat. And then we have this, again, really iconic jazz embellishment, that flat 9, sharp 9, pulling off to the root for G7, G altered, resolving to the third of the C minor. So we have, again, right there. Another really cool one. Again, you could think about that like D half diminished, G altered into C minor. It also would work because that A flat we're targeting becomes the flat 5 for D half diminished. In this case, we're using it for B flat 7 because A flat is E flat 7. And it works to target both of those since they're both chord tones of those chords, respective chords. Another one off of Tender Madness that is more Benson-like instead of Green-like is a couple of these really cool blues licks that Benson uses and that Tiago included in this course. This one's over that same spot. So this is starting on that E flat 7. I'll play it with the music. All right, so this is straight up B flat pentatonic, B flat blues scale really. So on that E flat 7, we slide in to that D and D flat. We're basically ignoring the E flat 7 in our analysis and just treating this like B flat blues, which sounds really cool when you're mixing it in with other jazz bass lines. Benson does this a lot. It's one of the main things he's known for. And we're doing these triplets running straight down the blues scale. So and then once we get to that D flat, we slide it into D, and that resolves us into B flat. At this point, the chord switches to G7, so that sliding into D will end up being the 5th of our G7. Either way, if you use this on a B flat 7 chord or that measure of the blues where it switches into the G7, the 5 of 2, 5 of the C minor chord, it will work. And so it's really good to practice those kind of triplet lines on your pentatonics. And if we're using my picking, I would start with the up pick, or if you have a down pick on that, up on the B flat, down, up, pull off, down, up, pull off, down, slide. And you can get to that B flat if you want to just keep that as a standalone phrase. Okay, so I had to include one more George Benson phrase that Tiago puts in the course because it's really cool. And it's just a real simple double stop, very iconic Benson type of thing. And it sounds like this. It's over B flat 7. So the way you want to approach this is you want to slide into that F and A flat with your middle finger and ring finger. Pull that off, the E to E flat. And then you can use your ring finger or pinky and go to G. A flat also works. Either of those work. It has a very like big band sound, like the rhythm's great, and you can really build off of that. You can almost hear like a drummer doing hits after that. Like it's so rhythmically strong. Like it's great. So that's another really good one to learn. So let's look at our final example. What I like about this one is it's based around a little phrase that you can repeat and just start to play with. And that makes for really good language because then you can turn it into your own thing. We're not just like inserting a full line. So let me play it for you over blue bossa. This one's over that minor 2/5 going to C minor. Okay, a couple things that are really important here. We're basing this around, the way I like to think about it at least, if we're starting on a D half diminished, we're basing this phrase around the 11th, which is great because if you've watched any of the Secret Jazz Chord videos, you know that the minor 7 flat 5, the half diminished sound, we base around the 11th. So this phrase is coming right off of that same note, G. And it's that pick, pick, pull-offs. So pick, pick, pull off, and then other picks after that for G and A flat. It's very important to accent the right notes here. So it's, we accent the G first and then the A flat. This A flat. Then we repeat the phrase, accenting the B natural. Here we have this augmented sound for G augmented over G altered, which is a really cool sound for a minor 7 flat 5, a minor 2/5, in this case the altered sound. This phrase is in the style of Kenny Burrell, but it's also very much used by guys like Kreisberg. And so we're just going down, and then we land on the 9th, E flat to C, 9th of C minor. So those are 5 examples as a preview of what's in this. There are many more pages, PDFs. He even does a whole chord solo over Beautiful Love to give you guys some chord vocabulary. It's a lot there. I'll put the full description. You guys can check out the link. I even had a short conversation with Tiago getting more into this if you guys want to check that out. I'll drop it as like an unlisted video. You guys can just check out if you're interested in hearing more about what this is and how we decided to come up with this as a way of helping you guys build jazz vocabulary. Let's talk about how we develop language. So just like an actual language, what we want to do is we want to, at first, it is something that we're hearing, right? So a kid learning language is not studying from a book how to say different words. They're experiencing those words and then repeating them back. So this is an important process also with learning jazz or any genre really, is we want the focus to be on the listening and the repeating of key phrases that we repeat, and we see if it works or doesn't work, if it gets the response we want. So in jazz, the way that's normally described as far as a method of learning that is transcribing. And I'm sure you guys are familiar with that as the standard solution to the problem of learning jazz language. And it is a great solution. A lot of the jazz masters, basically anyone you talk to, has transcribed a lot. And the reason for that is because it works. And if you do it enough, you start to get better at it, and it takes a long time to get better and to get quick enough where it feels possible and you can really start to do that. So I'm not saying that my method is better. Transcribing directly is still the best method, hands down. The issue with it is also the most effort. It's the hardest, and for some people that are trying to get into jazz, it's too much effort to become approachable. So what I want to do is create a way, and that's why I partnered with Tiago, to approach some of this jazz language of different jazz guitarists and start to find maybe which guitarist you prefer, what types of language you are able to play on your instrument, and basically go from there. Then start to transcribe and recognize that vocabulary, that language in the songs you're hearing, and then start to apply it. So this isn't supposed to be a substitute for transcribing. What this study, this 10 standard study, jazz guitar vocabulary over standards, is supposed to do is give you those iconic vocabulary, those words or phrases from these famous guitarists over standards so that you can apply them and really get it in your playing quicker than if you were transcribing all of their tunes. That's the main goal. It doesn't substitute for transcribing. You're still going to have to transcribe if you want to get to that master level. This is giving you that vocab in a condensed form. And what's also cool about it is it starts off very simply, and then as the courses go on, it gets more complicated, more eighth note lines. So there's a lot there for everyone who wants to apply it. I learned a lot even just going through the etudes myself. So check out any of those links. As always, feel free to leave a comment below. I enjoy responding to you guys. I have been getting back to pretty much everyone. So I'll continue to do that and take your guys' suggestions to heart. I really appreciate it, and I'll see you in the next video.